In today's session, we're going to continue on the series on leadership and workforce alignment and engagement. Again, this is a necessary condition to be a high-performing organization. If we don't have that leadership alignment and engagement, that workforce alignment and engagement, it's going to block us from being a high-performing organization. So this is a necessary condition to being high-performing. Today's session, we're going to talk about addressing abnormal conditions. So we want to understand the process to identify and empower employees to take action to address the root cause of problems or abnormal condition. And again, we need to get to the root cause. We don't want to put Band-Aid solutions in place, and then the Band-Aid solutions are a temporary fix, and then 3 weeks later, we have the same problem again. So we need to get to the root cause of the problem. When we look at problem solving, Benjamin Franklin said, "An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure." I ask a lot of people, what did he mean by that statement? And a lot of people have trouble verbalizing what he meant by this statement. And so what it means to me is there's 16 ounces in a pound. So when you have a problem, it's 16x, and x can be time, it can be effort, it can be money to address the problem after it happens versus fixing the problem before it occurs. So that prevention is basically 16x. And when we're dealing with problems all day long, how much capacity is wasted dealing with problems? If we can eliminate those problems, how much capacity does it free up? It frees up 16x of our capacity, which is significant for companies, especially when companies have a hard time finding good employees and retaining good employees. Let's make the employees we have more productive by fixing problems before they occur. So one of the ways to identify when there's problems is to have visual controls. So visual controls allow anyone to understand the current condition or situation that's going on with a process. So when we have good visual controls, we can walk into any area and we can see what's going on. And if we can see what's going on, then we can understand what's normal and what's abnormal. So again, if we can't identify abnormal conditions, we can't fix problems. So to be able to fix problems, we need to be able to see the problem. Seeing the problem is the first step in our problem-solving process. So when we look at designing visual management, we want to ask ourselves, what information are we trying to communicate? So if we understand what information we're trying to communicate, then we can start designing the visual management to understand the two conditions of normal. And then if we can spot normal, then we can obviously spot abnormal. So of course, good visual management starts with organization. And so visual management gets accomplished through our 5S process. So when we look at normal conditions, we want to understand when we go into an area, what does normal look like? What does good look like? And be able to visually represent that in the work area. So I have this visual management board up here. A tool board is a technique of visual management. And I can see everything has a place and everything is in its place. And when we have an abnormal condition, we can spot that abnormal condition and then address why we have the abnormal condition. So in this case, you see that this rigid electric driver is missing, and we need to be able to address that and understand why that's missing from the tool board. And again, tool boards is just one example. There's many, many different examples of being able to put visual management in place to address issues. So one of the ways to address these issues, and when we have good visual management in place, is what we call the daily walk process. So the daily walk process is designed to give management feedback on the process and to identify those abnormalities. And so we have rules for the daily walk process. And if you're familiar with our process, we tell companies we only have one rule, and our one rule is we follow the rules. So our rules for the daily walk process are: 1, management is only allowed to ask questions. So you need to practice your active listening skills that we've talked about in the previous sessions. You're not allowed to give direction or discipline employees. The goal of the daily walk process is to provide the employees with support, not to criticize or discipline employees. Third, you cannot offer solutions to the abnormality. Coaching is allowed only if you're using the Socratic method of questioning. And remember, our Socratic method is a dialogue between the coach and the team members, initiated by continual probing of questions of the coach in an effort to explore underlying beliefs that shape the team members' views or opinions. So we need to use that Socratic method when we're out and we spot abnormal conditions. That'll give us a lot of information on what's happening. So again, our keys to active listening, the 7 keys: be attentive, ask open-ended questions, ask probing questions when you see the abnormality, request clarification, paraphrase what you heard, be attuned to people's feelings, summarize. And then when we apply the Socratic method, before you start the conversation, make sure you have a deep understanding of the concepts you want others to understand. So to be a good coach, you need to have excellent knowledge of the subject matters that you're going to coach in. And if you want to start the daily walk process, you got to make sure that you understand a lot of different concepts and a lot of different techniques to be able to coach people on these techniques. So rule number 1, never tell the person that you're speaking with that they're wrong or don't know what they're talking about. You want to stop the conversation, start out by telling them that they're wrong or doing something incorrectly. They believe that they're right, so they don't understand. They might have a false assumption that they're under that's causing them to behave a certain way, or maybe we have the wrong measurements in place that are creating that wrong behavior. So it's important to note that the Socratic method is not about proving someone wrong. It's about redefining their mindset to gain a clear understanding of what we're trying to accomplish as an organization. So when we see an abnormal condition, so we have this condition where this tool is missing, we might want to ask the questions, hey, where's the rigid electric driver? Because I see that's missing off the board here. So why is it missing from the board? Do you understand the importance of having the necessary tools available? Also, do you understand the effect on productivity when you don't have the tools available when you need them? So those are examples of questioning that we can start to understand. Why is this tool not back on the board? And do the employees understand the importance of that? And then that'll help us to start the problem-solving process. So when we're doing problem solving, to be excellent problem solvers, we need to be good in cause and effect thinking. So the effect is the outcome or result or consequence of action. So the effect is that tool is missing from the tool board. What is the cause? It's something that brings about the effect or result. What's the root cause? The initiating cause of a condition or causal chain that leads to an outcome or effect of interest. So we need to get to the root cause of the problem. We need to put countermeasures in place that prevent that abnormality from happening again. So what's leadership's role in the problem-solving process? It's extremely important that leadership understands their role in the problem-solving process. So to be able to significantly impact how effectively and efficiently problems are identified and addressed and resolved, it requires leadership's involvement in this process. So what are some of the key aspects of leadership's role in the problem-solving process? 1, setting the tone. So everyone needs to be problem solvers in the organization. So establishing that culture that encourages open communication, creativity, and willing to tackle challenges that prevents us from moving forward as an organization. 2, defining priorities. So remember, all problems aren't created equal. So understanding which problems are most critical and which problems are not critical to be focused on in the short term. Providing direction. So they need to provide clarity on the approach, setting clear goals, expectations, and guidelines for the problem-solving process. Also, allocating the correct resources to the problem-solving process. Do we have the necessary time, money, personnel, technology to support the problem-solving process? If not, it's leadership's role to address that and give the appropriate allocation of resources. Also, support and empowerment. So need to empower the teams to solve the problems themselves, not giving them the answers, but encouraging them to identify and walk through the problem-solving process and ask for help when they need help. Also, deal with conflict resolution. So the last session we talked about conflict resolution and how to go about solving conflicts and creating win-win solutions. Also communication, make sure that there's effective communication, that all stakeholders are involved in the problem solving process. They understand what the problem is. It is linked to the KPIs in the organization. It's linked to the strategy and the vision and mission statements of the organization. And lastly, holding teams accountable. So making sure that the teams are accountable to having the time to get their action items completed, making sure the process stays on track, and making sure that they're getting to the root cause. So that's our session for today. Thanks for joining. Again, connect with me on LinkedIn, visit our website, go to our YouTube channel where we have lots of videos on how to become a high-performing organization.